But we attend New Salem Baptist Church. I've attended there since 1972. I've been the youth director for the past 6 years and just stepped down at the end of September as assistant. Since I'm running this election, I just didn't have the time to put into it like I did. So I stepped down to assistant, and Carolyn Bradford, that goes to our church, she is our youth director now. But we have probably about 60 children in the church that we minister to, and wife teaches Sunday school also. I started law enforcement back in 1993 as a deputy, and I progressed up through the ranks to sergeant. When I left as sergeant, I went to Lookout Mountain Police Department. Started off as patrolman, moved up to lieutenant, then investigator, then finally assistant chief. And I was up there 12 years and was assistant chief 8 years of those 12. I've always had a compassion for law enforcement and compassion for people. While on patrol and stuff, I've met a lot of people throughout the county and the city of Lookout Mountain, and just love interacting with people. And serving as your sheriff, I will do my best that I can to be with you out in these communities and doing the best job I can as sheriff. And thank you for your time.
Well, thank you, Troy. Thank you, West Brow community and the folks for coming out tonight. I'm Philip Street. I was your sheriff from 1984 to 2004. Prior to that, I was self-employed with my father in a business in Trenton, Georgia, called Don Street and Son Hardware. I went to college at Northeast Alabama College. I've got nearly 2 years of college there. I'm being elected sheriff. I've served on many committees through the state, from Georgia Sheriff Youth Homes and different legislative committees in the state of Georgia. After leaving the sheriff's office 8 years ago, I went to Walker County Sheriff's Department, worked 4 months in the narcotics division, and after that I was offered a job running a law enforcement supply company in Chattanooga, which is one of the largest in the country. My responsibility there was total management operations of the location in Chattanooga, from bids to managing personnel to outside sales, anything that had to do with the Chattanooga location. After that, I went to work for a medical service company. Then when the tornadoes came, the commissioners asked me to come to work for them and run the project of cleaning the storm up last year after the tornado, which most of y'all know was quite devastating to our community. I had there the max 26 employees there, plus the contractors' employees, plus coordinating everything with county government and FEMA. Since then, I went to work for that company and has managed projects with 100, 150 folks on them. The reason I want you to vote, I'm asking you to vote for me for sheriff, because I'm the best candidate. I have the hands-on experience for 20 years of experience, from the jail to criminal investigation to patrol, the knowledge of doing the budgets, the knowledge to write grants, and the Dade general operation. Dade County is a community that's near and dear to me. It's a community I love. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I love Dade County. I had to make some choices about some things to do, but I was led to come back and run for sheriff again. With your support and your help, it'd be an honor to be your sheriff again. Thank you for the vote on November 6th, and y'all have a good evening.
Well, first of all, I think the office of sheriff, I won this job because I love serving people and I love serving the community. I've worked as a deputy for years and years, and a police officer, and I've answered numerous calls, bad calls, murders, suicides, rapes, you name it. And I've dealt with people that have been in pain and hurting, and I've tried to comfort them. I've tried to help them. I've helped with burglaries where people had their houses broke into, and I've gone and comforted the victims, and also arrested the criminals over and over and over. I think the main job of sheriff is to protect and serve, but most of all to be a leader. You need a sheriff that's a leader that makes sure his men and women are on the streets, patrolling your neighborhoods, your areas, and taking care of the citizens of the county. Does everyone have the answer of being sheriff? No, there's going to be times when you don't have every answer, but you need to give an answer. When you're faced with that situation, you've got to be a leader. You've got to step up and do what's right in that situation. And like I say, I've faced many calls out here as a deputy and as a supervisor. And I've always made those decisions throughout my career, and I will continue to make them, especially as sheriff. And I will give you the best protection and the most professional police department, sheriff's department that you could ask for. I've talked with many other sheriffs in other counties and looked at their departments, and I'm going to make sure that our department here, we have professional officers that treat the citizens of this county with respect and dignity, but yet put the criminals behind bars where they belong. Thank you.
My first reason wanted to be sheriff because this is home, this is where I live, and this is where I've been all my life. The number one priority of the sheriff is to serve and protect. A lot of people don't understand the total ramifications of the sheriff's job. He serves the warrants. He serves the civil papers. He's security for court. He's court security. He's the guy that's got to go pick the family member up that they've got to take to the mental hospital. You've got to talk to the victims. You've got to be a psychiatrist. A lot of people don't believe that, but you've got to be able to sit down and talk to people and help them out your problem. You got to run patrol. You got to run criminal investigation. You got to jail. The jail is a city within our county. And folks, if you don't believe it's not a headache, it's a headache. I love the 20 years I was sheriff before. I wasn't perfect. None of us are. I made my mistakes. But I moved forward. But the reason I ran for sheriff again is because I'm the best candidate. I know the office of sheriff. I know how to do the job. But the one most important of all those in today's world is managing your people and managing your budget and working together to make our community a better place to live. When I say work with those folks, you work with your agencies around this. I still have that rapport with the state agencies, the federal agencies, the tri-state law enforcement agencies, to where those people will all work together to make a difference, to make Dade County the place you want to live. So my old motto was, if you deserve the best. I'm the best candidate for the office of sheriff because I've got the most experience and the most knowledge. I had to be a manager the day I went in office, when I went in office before. And I've stayed in management since then. I understand patrol. I understand criminal cases. I've worked all those. But my biggest thing is the compassion of the people of this county. And as you folks well know, and people who say, you deal with the good, bad, and the ugly. It's just like Clint Eastwood said, the good, bad, and ugly, folks. It's not a pretty picture out here on the wall that everybody thinks it's got to be this way. But unfortunately, it's not. And I've done that for 20 years, and I know how to do it professionally with a department that you folks would be proud of, and thank you.
As to why do the job of state rep, I'm not a professional politician. This is my first time running for any public office.
What's your experience with budgets? Have you built a budget? Tell us your experience and even any hesitancies you have, if there is any hesitancy on building a budget and being in control of a budget this large, including how large the budget is currently, if you know that. We'll start with Ray.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I worked on the budget Lookout Mountain with our chief up there. I was not fully in control of the budget, he was, but we worked with it, and every year we worked within budget. We had an $800,000 budget every year. I think the current budget at the Sheriff's Department is like $2.6 million. We did the line item budget. You know, we go through the budget and see what was needed for each of our departments in the police department, and work with that. Then we take it to the city council, and the city council will look over it with the mayor, and we would all look over that before it was approved and everything, and that's how we did our budget there. I'll do the same thing at the Sheriff's Department. You know, we would go over this budget and work with it line item by line item on a baseline budget and take it to the commissioners. I want everything approved by the commissioners before I spend any money with the Sheriff's Department. I want you to know I'm not going to go in there and just blow money. I know that the word is out everywhere about my bankruptcy. Let me clarify that just a minute.
Can we get to that part later?
Sure.
Is that all right? And we will definitely get there.
Okay. Well, I'm sure that, but yes.
We got a lot of those. Sorry.
That's actually a question?
Huh?
That's actually a question?
There are some questions in here about that. Mr. Street, thank you, Ray.
Yes. Running a family business, I was responsible for managing it day to day for 10 years. Was profitable in the business. As sheriff, when I went in office, the budget was $150,000. When I left, yeah, $150,000. Think about it, folks. When I left, it was 1.6 million. No, 1.7, I believe. Maybe more than that. I'll stand here and tell you I was over budget some. But I've done something nobody else has done. I housed inmates for other counties. And in those last 8 years I was in office, I generated $3.2 million worth of revenue money to come back in the county. It's never been done in the history of the county. I've wrote budgets, I've managed budgets, I've added personnel, I've let personnel go. It's something you got to understand about county budgets or any budget in government. It's a go to work towards. It's a go to work towards with the county government authority. Sometimes it don't happen that way. But I understand the budget process totally, from top to bottom. From the jail to the detectives, and understanding that if you plan overtime, you may use it, you may not. Some people say, well, I'm not going to work overtime. Well, if you've got a homicide in your community, if you've got a bad crime that took place, I'm not going to work 8 hours and send people home. I mean, I'll be truthful with you, because the sheriff's job is elected to protect and serve. I will work with commissioners very adamantly to see the budget stay in control. And as I said, I understand the process from A to Z, because as it's changed, I was there when it went from a 12-cell jail to a 100-bed jail, when we had dispatch in the sheriff's office. So I totally understand the budget process.
Mr. Street, you can stay standing up. Another quick question for you.
Yes, sir.
Much has been made of a lawsuit filed against you while you were sheriff and the large amount of settlement that was paid out. Someone mentioned you have just given the highlights before. Would you please expound on this?
The settlement in the lawsuit the incident took place 2 years before I left office. In 2006, the county was ruled a summary judgment, which totally released the county from any responsibility. They appealed it to the appellate courts. The appellate courts kicked me totally out, myself totally out of the lawsuit, but he left the officers that was involved, and he kicked the county totally out of the lawsuit. And one thing more that nobody talks about, there was a state trooper involved in that incident too. The case went to trial, and they had a mistrial. It was set for trial again. And during that period of time, the insurance company come in and said, settle. The original amount of the suit was $6 million. Then it was changed to $2 million. Then the final agreement that the attorney for the county, which is not the county attorney, but he's the insurance attorney, that was representing the deputies who was left in the suit. I was done out of it. I'd been out of it since 2006 because the courts ruled that I did my job. They made a settlement, I think $260,000, $260 or $280. $200,000 the insurance company paid, the balance the state of Georgia paid. It was an unfortunate situation. The gentleman did get hurt. Didn't like what happened then. Wouldn't like it to happen today. But when you're in this business, there's things happens that the deputies or the officers, some of them create some of them don't. But the courts ruled, as far as me personally, in 2006, I was kicked out of the lawsuit. It was not having any responsibility. I had to provide training. I had to provide policy procedures. I had to provide guidelines. And the only thing that I did learn from reviewing the file, that the federal courts want you to have a log of any instance of complaints against officers. Which all that was found out after me leaving office. If when I go back in office, that'll be one thing will be in place. So something that nature happens again. Thank you.
Mr. Cross, sorry for the interruption before. Same question that you were addressing before. Much has been said of your two bankruptcies in 2004 and 2011. Those were wrong, you let us know too. Would you be kind enough to give our community the reasons for these bumps in your life? Some details would be helpful.
I will be glad to do that. For anybody that wants proof of this, my wife is sitting over here tonight. She has all the paperwork. If you want to look at it, you're more than welcome. My daughter had some problems with her ovaries, which she had to have surgery. My daughter is the most important thing in my life, and my wife and the rest of my family. My wife had problems also, which required surgery. I had problems also. We had a tremendous amount of medical bills that occurred during these surgeries that we could not keep up with. It wasn't that I could not manage money. It wasn't because I did overspending and everything like that. It was because the money wasn't there. I was not making enough when all these medical bills started coming in to handle those medical bills. The same thing could happen to anyone in this room, because I never thought it would happen to me. I thought, when this happened, I said, what are we going to do? You know, we tried every avenue we could. So we talked with an attorney, and the attorney advised us to file Chapter 13 bankruptcy. When we filed Chapter 13, through those several years, we paid in over $125,000 to the bankruptcy court. That proves that I was trying to take care of these. I just didn't go and file Chapter 7 to take care of this. I filed Chapter 13 to try to get this taken care of, because I wanted to pay this back. But there were just so many, we couldn't keep up with it. At the end of that bankruptcy, when it was coming to the end of it, the attorney we talked with told us to file Chapter 7 bankruptcies, take care of anything else that's out there that 13 did not cover, so that's what we did. These were not actually two bankruptcies. You know, they show that on paper. This was actually one bankruptcy to cover both of them. So that's what we did in this. You know, you could be going down the road today and pull out in front of somebody, get hit, or you hit somebody, and it could happen to you just like that. Don't never say never, because it can happen, because I never thought it would happen to me, and it did. Life throws us curves sometimes that we're not ready for, and it threw us a big curve. But we didn't run from the problem. We tried our best to stand up to this problem. As sheriff of this county, I'll not run from the problems either. I'll stand up to these problems. When somebody tries to break in your house, we will be there to protect you. We will be there. There'll be investigators there. I will be there myself. If there's any question with these bankruptcies, my wife is over here with all the paperwork. Like I said, when this debate's over, come see her. She'll show you everything on it. I hope you understand that this has nothing to do with the department and the budget. The money is there in the sheriff's department to run that budget. You can manage stuff when you have the money, but when you don't have the money, that's when you have problems. So please, if there's any questions, any problems, we got it all over here. I thank you. I know there's been so many rumors going around through this election. I've tried to live my life the best I can. And if this is all that the people of this county can throw at me is because of my bankruptcies, something's wrong, folks. I have the best interest of this county in mind. I have the best interest of you and your families. I want to protect and serve you, and I will to the utmost of my ability. Thank you.
I'd still love us to hold our applause. Appreciate all of your answers. I'll give you guys some opportunity a little later. Is that all right?
That's fine. That's fine.
I mean, one of you's going to be sheriff. I don't want to get in trouble.
If you don't mind, if it's about this, let Mr. Street ask.
Is it about that?
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray.
I sat through the other debate and listened to this. And I've had gobs of people come ask me, throw this out, and I didn't bring this up. So I've done what a person in my shoes would do. I went and looked myself. And I looked at the bankruptcy myself. I looked at both of them myself. I didn't send somebody that's going to harass or tell lies or tell whatever. If his family is sick, I support him 100%. The information at the federal courthouse does not match what my opponent just said.
Excuse me, but I have our taxes where I pay out
Ma'am.
of pocket.
Ma'am,
Those
just,
hospital bills
ma'am.
have been paid.
We'll let Mr. Crawford respond, just to
I
keep
mean,
it
I
in.
would-
Folks, the proof's over here, it's all here. coming
Ray,
together.
I'll let you respond.
All I'm going to say to you folks, if you're really curious and want to know,
I got to pay.
Please do.
I'll go one step beyond that. Go to the federal courthouse in Chattanooga and ask to look at the records. It's black and white. And respectfully, and I'm saying this respectfully, I give this man his first job, but I don't want neither one of us
Not the first job.
in the sheriff's office today.
Yeah, clarify that.
Hey, fellas, you can.
I'm going to make it real clear that the records I found did not justify that. And if there's stuff that's hidden, I respect that and I understand that.
Philip Street, how did you get our social security numbers to get access?
Well, I'll explain to you how you get it. You walk in the federal courthouse and you put a search and you put a name in it. It's public record. And the only reason I went is because I got tired. No, ma'am, you do not. I have a question.
Hey, hold on, wait.
No. Y'all fired bullets at me and y'all fired bullets at my family and harassed my wife and put stuff out on me. So I went and got the proof. If you don't talk about having the proof, I got information too. I'm not up here to badger Ray. And we can compare notes, or I'll get into Troy if he wants to compare notes.
All right, that's, you said your piece. Ray, you get a response. Ray gets a response, not the crowd.
Okay, thank you, Troy, I appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
Go look, is all I can say. My wife has the records here, they're there to look at. Feel free to go look. I'm telling the truth, folks. I'm not up here lying to you, I'm not a liar. Please go look, if that's what you want to do, it's public record.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
We better move over to the corners for a little while here. Corners. What's the difference between a Democrat corner and a Republican corner?
I don't know that there's any difference in Dade County in a Democrat and Republican.
I'll give you basic Sheriff 101. In today's world, days of old, back in the 80s, they said, no, be compassionate, be kind, take care of this, take care of that. In today's world, they tell you, you probably have to fight to get the money you want to operate if you're not getting out enough money. I never had to do that. We always worked something out. Most of the times when I was over budget, I communicated with the commissioners, and they amended the budget at the end of the year because they knew the stuff I had to have. And that's just the way to deal with it. The last thing one elected official wants to do to another is sue them. And I can say I never had to do that. But there is a tool, whichever one of us are elected, that's a tool they'll teach you, and they'll grind it in your head, The commissioners are your friends, but if you don't have enough money to operate, here's how you do it. But it's just being business.
So was that a probably or a yes?
Oh, I never did.
Okay.
I never did have to, because we always sit down and agree to disagree like business people are supposed to.
Good. Mr. Cross, how many true criminal investigations, drug investigations, have you headed?
Have I had?
Headed?
Oh, headed?
Headed, yes, sir.
Numerous. I cannot count. There's been, from Dade County to Lookout Mountain, back to Dade County, I would say hundreds.
That was short. I'm just looking for the next question. Mr. Street.
Yes, sir.
Sorry, I'd love to read some other ones, but I don't have any other ones.
Go ahead, Joel.
I'm trying to read it. You previously stated that you've learned from your mistakes made by your employees when you were sheriff, but you don't seem to take responsibility, someone's opinion, for that. Is the sheriff responsible for his employees' actions, and how?
The sheriff's responsible for policies and procedures and guidance. And ultimately, he's responsible for all his employees. Not that he condones what they do when they're out of his sight. His job is to set policies, procedures in place, and with the people he puts in place to supervise those folks, to manage those folks. The sheriff, though, is the one that gets the ultimate blame for anything that happens, regardless of who it is.
So to clarify, how do you, this, I don't know if moderators are supposed to do this, but I'm about to do it. To clarify, as sheriffs, both of you, how do you manage your employees then? It's a question for both of you. I mean, it's a challenge in there. It was packed into that question somewhere.
I'm going to adopt an accreditation by the state of Georgia that gives very strict guidelines, policy, procedures, and things to do. This is things that's changed over the last 8 years. You could not get a county department accredited on the state level. You could nationally. But I'm going to do that, put policy procedures into place, and I guess as you get older, you get harder. I'm going to say, guys, here's the policy procedures, here's the rules to go by, conform with it, or this is your consequences. In which your consequences are a verbal warning, a written warning, or depending on the situation, it may be totally just being fired. So depending on what the policy is, what took place, some incidents will be totally dismissal. And that depends on the incident that might have taken place. May need water.
Ray,
Need water.
do you have any comments on that?
Matter of fact, I do. Mr. Street said in last debate he would like to get the county accredited with the Sheriff's Department. He also stated he'd like to get it state certified, and also stated a merit system. A question was asked to each of us sheriff's candidates when we were running at the first of this election: would we implement a county merit system if we were elected sheriff? And my answer was definitely yes, and I exactly expounded on it and everything else. Yes, I do and will put into place a county merit system. What the county merit system does is it helps your officers, when a new sheriff comes in, not to fire those officers. They can still keep their jobs. They don't have to worry about going through an election. Also, what it does, your officers are promoted by rank and pay raise by their job performance. If you got an officer over here that's not doing his job, he doesn't get promoted, he doesn't get raises. But the one that does, you evaluate these officers and they get promoted and raises by their job performance. And that's what a merit system does. And it also helps, when you have a sheriff and a leader of a department, you should have a close eye on your men and women out here on these roads. You should know what they're doing. You should know their morals and their daily activities. You should know how they perform and how they act. When you get an officer out of the academy, you don't just put that officer in a car, you put him with a field training officer. Let that officer ride for about 6 weeks. Evaluate everything he does, from traffic stops to domestic violence to crime scenes. Make sure that these officers are mature and good officers that you're putting out here to protect you. You don't want young boys or young girls out here riding these 3,000-pound missiles and carrying a gun. You want mature, fully developed, mentally competent officers. And that's what I plan on doing. And when you have a sheriff that does that and keeps that under control, you're going to have a good department. Mr. Street said he wants to get the county accreditation. I would like to, if I could ask Mr. Street, does he know what the cost of the county would be for that?
I've done been told, and I don't know what you got in your hand, by a sheriff that's on one of those committees that's very inexpensive. But where it takes care of us for the amount of money involved, is the liability in us down the road. I have not done the research on it exactly, but I have a department that is already state accredited that's with a sheriff, another sheriff in the state. It's not here. That is going to send a person to come help us do that step by step. He explained to me, he said, and which this is the part I have not researched in, he said $100. I cannot stand here and tell you exactly what it costs. There's accreditations that you're going to pay $10,000 for. I'm not talking about the same thing. You got CALEA, you got state standards, you got national standards.
Well, here's CALEA, and I don't remember saying $100, but CALEA for a 25 to 199 employee department, the lump sum payment for this county to have its accreditation is $10,100. Then, once you get accredited, or try to go through your accredited to get their certificate, they send a team of assessors down to assess the department. You pay their airfare, you pay their room and board, their meals and everything else, which is probably going to be another $5,000. You're looking close to $15,000 to get accreditation. Now that's from CALEA. I don't know what other agencies in the streets are talking about out there, but CALEA is the one that most of the departments go by when they go for accreditation. Also, he mentioned state certification. State certification is a little bit cheaper. It's $300 to get state certified. What they do, they send you, as accreditation does, they send you a plaque to put on the wall that says you're either accredited or state certified. What you're doing is you're letting the government come in here and make sure that your department's running professional and has liabilities and all that. Why can the sheriff not do that? Why do you have to hire other agencies to do that for you? When you're a sheriff, you should be able and a leader to do that, make sure your men are doing right without costing the county more money. But a merit system is a good thing. A merit system doesn't cost anything. And we can do that and get the same results for a lot less money.
One last
The merit
response.
system only has to do with your personnel. A merit system protects the employee if he's not in rank and file. The merit system does not give that person an automatic pay raise because you got to get that approved by the commissioners. If you got the commissioners signed off on it, then you're in the ball game. But this one he's talking about the state. If you ain't got policy procedures in place for liability issues, they're going to burn you up in court.
You should have those already with your SOP. That should be already included when you become
What do you
sheriff.
think?
I'll give you an opportunity to respond if you should respond.
The only reason the lawsuit that my opponent has talked all over the county about is that I was released from it because I had policy and procedures in place. I had guidelines in place that protected the sheriff and the county. The federal courts ruled that officer was out of line. The federal appellate court ruled that I had done my job. I had it when you worked for me as a jailer and as a deputy, and you're not going to be able to promise raises to the people in the county without the power of the commissioners. You can put merit to protect, but you can't without the power of the commissioners.
Never said you could, though.
You sat right there and just said it.
I don't. Because
Yes,
we
you
got
did.
we got
Fellas,
it here.
fellas. Unbelievable. I'm in trouble with both sheriffs.
You're not in trouble.
Just chalk me up for a lot of tickets on. We can actually continue to just behave. I don't have enough questions to interject in between to get you both cooled off, and you folks need to come up with some questions for these other people.
Need some more formal questions.
Here's I'm trying, man. I promise you, I'm trying. I mean, one of them's kind of tough. Speak up, Warriors. I don't even know if I should read this one. Now somebody's mad. You may not. Well, do you believe there's a drug problem at Dade County High? That's the first part of the question. And we will start with Phillip Street.
I don't think you can put the total blame on maybe the high school over what a handful of people does. There's no doubt in my mind there's not some pharmaceutical.
Can y'all speak up a little bit? I just got
I
a little.
understand that. I do
Sorry.
understand. There's no doubt in my mind there's not some pharmaceutical use, probably from the kids, from the stories I've been told, but a direct drug problem, I wouldn't stand here and punish the 98% of the good kids because of what 1 or 2% does, even if it's that much. So I think it's something to be concerned with. I think it's something you got to address. But I don't think you turn good kids away or make them feel like there's a problem, because you're always going to have a few that's smoking marijuana or getting pills or whatever. But a major problem, until I take office, I can't say here because I've been out of the woods for 8 years.
Good, thank you. Mr. Cross?
Yes. I think anytime you have drugs involved that are used illegally, there's a problem. Do I think our school is full of drug problems? No, I don't. Are there drugs in the school? Well, yes. Are there drugs in your workplace? Probably so. Anywhere you've got people, you got things that are going to happen wrong sometimes. So are there drugs in the school? I would say there are some there. Is there a big drug problem? I don't think so. Of course, I'm not in the school every day. I don't know. I don't see it hands-on. But any drug problems that happen in this county, whether in offices or schools or wherever else, we will address those problems at homes or whatever else, because drugs are a big problem when you have burglaries and stuff like that. These burglaries that occurred this past couple of years, they were because of drugs, the majority of them. Because I arrested most of those people that were breaking the homes. And those young people were misusing drugs. Well, is there a big drug problem in school? I don't think there is, but I think there are drugs in the school.
While you're up, sorry. If there's some problem, and you said there is some problem, but I don't see a big problem. Actually, I heard agreement on that one from both of you. Pretty good. How do you plan to deal with it?
You have to have a good rapport, I think, with the school-age children. If you make somebody mad, if you make a younger person mad or a citizen mad, the old phrase, you catch more flies with honey, is true. Our resource officers, I think, they need to be closer and pay attention to the kids more in school. Have better relationships with them, not just walk the halls and not ever speak to the children. But a lot of times children have problems, and most of these drug problems come from homes that are broken, from parents that don't care about their children, from children that live with their grandparents or single family parents, and it stems over into our school system. And one of the ways to combat that is for our resource officer to have a good relationship with those children. And that's where we're going to start. And these officers need to be trained and trained well to recognize when there's a problem, not only inside the school, but outside in sports activities and everything else. But there needs to be more emphasis on relationships with these children.
Good. Bill?
Repeat your question.
If you think there's a problem in the schools, and both of you kind of agree there's a problem, but it isn't a gigantic problem, in your estimation, but both of you hedged a little bit, which is fine because you're not the sheriff. How do you plan to deal with it?
I think first of all, there's programs in place now that starts on one and beyond. You've got to create. I think you got to look into what's going on. You got to present alternate education for the parents and the kids. You've got to offer alternate things to do, and they need to understand there's consequences whatever you do. Because we as law enforcement just can't go into school and take over. The school resource officers and the CHAMPS officers in school, they have to be state certified before they can work in that position. So they already have X amount of training to go with that position. And working with them, the school and the community come up with ways to how do we deal with that. Because that's not only a school problem and law enforcement problem, this is a whole county and a whole community problem. And we've all been scratching our heads for years, how do you stop it? And every time you get it slowed down, something else comes up. And as much as anything, just stand up for what's right. And be fair, and be honest, and work with these folks.
Thank you. Another invitation for questions for state reps, maybe even. I'm going to start making up some really bad ones.
What did you have for breakfast?
Where do you like to eat breakfast?
I don't even know how to answer. The answer is no. I don't plan on firing anybody. I plan on going in there and seeing what the department needs. If there's personnel that needs to be gone, they will be filtered through the process. No, I do not plan on firing anybody. As I do not plan on hiring anybody except one office personnel. I hope that answered the question. The answer is no.
Except one office personnel.
One office personnel, yes. That,
Bringing in one office
yes,
personnel?
one office for the office.
Okay.
Not a deputy.
Contracted.
Not a deputy.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Gotcha. You're slow.
Okay.
Very good. One more question for you, Mr. Cross.
Sure.
This one's pretty much the remainder of these for both the sheriffs. Are pretty tough questions, I think.
I think I've heard it said that's why you're the moderator.
Yeah, I know. It's a good time.
I think Charlie said that.
Do you owe any taxes that you've never paid, either personally or charged off with bankruptcies?
Not that I'm aware of.
That was an easy one. Thank you. Mr. Street,
Yes, sir.
do you plan to set a quota for your men as you allegedly did by this question in the last administration to write so many tickets per month? And then I might actually turn around and say, Mr. Cross, you're going to do the same thing. Do you plan to do this again if elected? If you did that?
We never had quotas.
Okay?
And I don't plan on setting quotas.
Mr. Cross, to the question.
Could you repeat it one more time?
Sure. Do you plan to set a quota for your men? You didn't have a last administration, did you? To write so many tickets per month?
The answer is no. That is illegal.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, that is called.
Oh, this clapping thing's killing me.
That's what they're about.
All right. Mr. Street,
Yes, sir.
some websites have been heavily critical of you and your time in office. How have they been critical of you? And does it bother you? And you can set the record straight on one of those things in your opinion, and there will be a rebuttal.
I don't worry about it a whole lot. What they say on there, sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never harm you. I think people all know what they're talking about before they go in there and put stuff.
We can't hear you.
I said, people ought to know what they're talking about before they go on any of those website pages and put stuff. They ought to have their facts and figures together, for example. And I'm just using it for example. Because I have a 26-year-old daughter that follows that stuff, and she calls me angry. Daddy, they're saying you've been arrested in Marion County for some hate crime. Well, whoever said that is a liar. Not tell them that to their face. You can go check the records. You go see the present sheriff, you go see the one before that, the one before that, the one before that. I haven't. And it really kind of offends me that people even pass that kind of gossip and bureaucracy. But I'm glad they asked the question because the word no. You got, was that too far? Okay.
That covered it. That covered it. You have anything, Mr.
Yes, I do.
Crosby?
I would like to say the same thing. I despise these rumors and everything else that's out on Facebook and whatever else, any social media. When it gets into personal lives of candidates, I know we're running for office, but when you bring families, just like Ms. Street said, his daughter, that is off limits, folks. This is between, we are grown men. This is between us. This is not between our families. His daughter should not be brought up into it. My daughter should not be brought up into it. Neither should any of the rest of the families. This is between two grown men who are running for one office. When we get through with this, we're going to shake hands and then, just like we did before we ran. We are grown men. We can handle criticism and talk. Our families don't deserve this. And it's not, I'm not saying it's coming. I'm not saying it's coming from any of you in here. I'm talking about the social media network out there. Through this whole campaign, people that were voting for me, people that were voting for Mr. Cannon, both sides. It was not me or Mr. Cannon, either one. It was people from both sides trying to defend their candidate, and he ended up hurting and ruining lives. The same thing's happened to me and Philip. This is wrong, and it needs to stop. It happens in our school systems when kids get on there and talk about each other, and the bullying starts. It starts on the Facebook and everything else, and they go to school and it escalates. You know, these computers are good tools for us, but they can also damage lives. Please, to address this campaign, if you know anybody that's doing that stuff, please let this be between me and this gentleman, not between our families.
That's exactly right.
Thank you.
I'm trying to make some love.
Let's get it done.
Mr. Street?
Yes, sir.
Lots of the rest of these seem pretty slanted because there's a ton of opinion in these, so if you hear me not read the whole question, it's because you spent a quarter of your card giving your opinion. Unbelievable. I would have written the whole card with my opinion. Have you been campaigning with Sheriff Patrick Cannon the past few weeks on Sand Mountain?
Yes, I have.
We'll leave Philip to answer the question, not the crowd, please. If so, does this mean the rumors are true? Rumors are true that you have been that you've promised him a major position if you win this election.
Whoever asked that question is incorrect. I ain't make no one a promise, and I'm not going to make no one a promise, and I'm not going to make no one a deal. So whoever's passing that information, here again, find your facts out before you know what you're talking about. And I've been on the mountain one occasion with some folks, some of his family of his and friends.
Stay up, because I got a question for
Well,
you.
shoot, brother. Now let's get this done. It's been a long day.
I can imagine. We asked Mr. Cross if he'd ever declared bankruptcy. I wrote down earlier, I better ask you.
No, sir, I have not.
All right. That was my question. Coroners. What's both of your medical...
Whether it's choice with this particular amendment, I don't know that that's necessary because the school system has been able to have charter schools. I don't think a charter school would be as effective in Dade County just because of the physical size. And I think that we need to have funding for the schools, and it needs to be funded properly. And I think right now Dade County is suffering some because of the way it's categorized as a, I hate to use the word, but this was the word used to me to describe it, was a rich school because of some of the different population within our county. And I think that somehow has misused or misdirected some of the funds that could have come here that are not coming here. So I think that's part of my responsibility to do that. But I would like to see people have choices in a lot of ways. There's private schools, there's public schools, charter schools, just another school.
Thank you. Tom?
Well, you can't knock all schools good. This happens with public schools all the
And
time.
I know this is up your alley, so we're going 2 minutes.
I'll try to keep it there. They're a good charter school.
Yeah. I think my greatest strength is leadership. When elected as sheriff, I will go into the department and I will be a leader to these men and women that put their lives on the lines daily. I think they need leadership. I think there's some great officers there at this department. For the most part, there's some good officers at that department. They just haven't had the leadership they need. Yes, some of those are very capable of leading, but the biggest strength I've got, I think, is leadership. I believe I can provide that to these men. Professionalism. You're going to see, when I'm elected, a very professional sheriff's department. There's one in South Georgia I talked to, or Middle Georgia, that I talked to, the sheriff, and I see his department, and I want to model our department after his, because he has a very professional department, and those officers respect the citizens of the county, and they also protect them. So that's what I think the department needs.
Thank you. I missed the weakness because I was talking.
Oh, forgot about the weakness.
Did you like that?
Yes,
Short memory.
probably the weakness would be.
Hey, before you answer this, or Philip answers this, I'd like you guys to spend as much time on weakness as strength. It's important to know those, I think.
Good.
Go ahead.
Well, I'll tell you one of my weaknesses. I guess is I care about people. I've arrested people before, and I felt even bad for arresting because when you go on a scene or something, you have a heated domestic or whatever, you got to do your job. You got to put these people, if they assaulted someone or hurt someone or whatever the situation is, you've got to make an arrest. But then your heart can go out to them because you look at the situation they're living in. You look at some of these homes. Most of us in here are middle class or upper class, but you go to some of these other areas where there's poor people, where there's people that don't have it as much, the opportunity that they've been given throughout life. And then they just seem to fall in that revolving door going in and out of jail, in and out of jail. If you want to spend a little time, I'll spend some time. I had a boy that I told in the last debate, well, a couple of boys, went out and broke in some houses and I arrested him for burglary. He was out on bond walking across Lookout Mountain, and our magistrate judge called me and asked me if I would go check and see, where he's going, what's going on. So I went and talked to him. I put him over the side and I said, and I just arrested him for burglary. And I said, why are you doing these burglaries? What's going on? What's the problem? And I said, you feel like nobody cares about you? He said, that's exactly how I feel. He said, I don't have anywhere to live. My parents kicked me out. My stepdad kicked me out. He said, I don't have a job. Just nobody cares. I said, well, what if I help you get your life straightened out? He looked up at me, it almost broke my heart the way he looked, because I knew his family and the circumstances. And I said, what if I help you get back in your home? He said, you would do that for me? I said, if it will stop you breaking in these innocent people's homes and taking their possessions they work hard for. He said, I will. He said, I will stop if you can help me. Took him back to his parents. Matter of fact, it was right up here in your community. I talked with his stepdad on the phone for almost an hour. The stepdad said, no, he broke into my truck and stole. No, I don't want him back. I kept talking. I said, I think he's going to change. I really do. Talked to his mom, and finally they conceded and let him come move back in. I also talked with a man that owns a paint company and asked him to get him openings, try to get him a job. And he said, no, I don't have one, but he can put in an application, and one comes open. In the meantime, he filled out an application to come to college, and unfortunately, he lied on his application, and they fired him. Well, he went back to breaking in houses and shooting up drugs. And I was a fortunate officer that had to arrest him again. This time, matter of fact, he's going to prison here pretty soon. I tried to help this young man over and over. Even before that, I went up there and he stole a gun, and I tried to get him to get the gun back. It was his father-in-law he stole it from. I said, just whatever, just get it back. Let's. So I try, my heart goes out to these people like this, but you still got to do your job. But my weakness is, I guess I care about people.
Thank you, Mr. Crawford. Mr. Street?
My strength is probably my leadership ability. Of being able to think on my feet, make a decision when the decision's got to be made, and move forward. It's a job of sheriff, you got to be able to make a decision right like that. You can be life or death. You ain't got time to consult with this one and consult with that one. You got to make a decision and move forward. Sometimes you make the best decision that could be made. Sometimes you make something that's not real favorable. But you have to be able to make a decision. And that's one strong thing I do have, able to make a decision. The other thing is you got to make decisions and move forward. You got to be able to sit down and talk to people about their situation. You can catch us while I go to the sheriff of the county. People don't know this. You pretty well got to be a psychiatrist because you get people in. I've got this problem with my child, or I'm having this domestic problem, or what do I need to do to get help, or my juvenile child is in trouble. I have the ability to sit down and talk to them and give them. But here's the thing I won't do. If you come in and ask me, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to put icing on the cake. If it's not good, I'm going to tell you the truth. The sheriff's department is a very important part of our community. We're supposed to set examples. My weaknesses is probably having too much confidence in people that I shouldn't have. That used to be one of my problems. But being in the public sector or the private sector for 8 years, the private sector don't have nearly have the compassion that the other. When you're elected official, the problem my opponent hadn't been confronted with, you've got this family member and this family member tugging at you about making a decision. The best tool I ever came up with was when little Johnny got arrested. Not you, Johnny. I'm sorry.
Well, we got some questions for you later.
It was not this Johnny. And as most of y'all know, sometimes it's not mom or dad, it's grandma or grandfather that comes and asks you. They called grandma and grandpa and said, hey, they just threw me in jail for something I didn't do. Well, when grandma and grandpa comes down, mom and dad, you sit them down in the office. Then you bring whoever's in trouble into the office. You tell your grandparents, or you tell your mom and dad what you've done wrong. I don't think you're the bad guy. You need to tell them the truth, because you done told the officer the truth. A lot of this is understanding families, understanding the culture of our community, and what our responsibilities are. It's not about throwing everybody in jail. Some people have this big bad impression of me that I just want to throw everybody in jail. You get paid to do a job. You don't make everybody happy. And I never make decisions based on who folks was. I talked to a gentleman the other day that when his son was 17 years old, he was involved in stealing a vehicle in San Juan. This guy sat down and cried to me. He come and told me that the best thing that probably ever happened to his child, his dad made the recommendation. The problem was the court system didn't treat everybody involved the same way. That's something the sheriff don't have any control of. People can think it does, and the sheriff has less influence today of what the court system does than what they did 28 years ago. Used to, you could go and sit down and help folks more than you can today. It comes back to we as a community has got to pull together, regardless of the situation, regardless of the scenario, and work together. I was born and raised here. Most of you folks in this room can see it. This community never pulled together in the years I've been in public safety like it did last April. But we let some people start. A month after, you've seen that drifting away. Another month, you've seen drifting away. Some of you folks in this room knows what I'm talking about. Then it got to be, from working at the church, is what can I get out of this? Because the first 8 days after the storm, I worked in my church, helping people hauling food, hauling water, doing what I was supposed to be doing. In the following 4 months, I helped clean the community up. Yes, I helped elderly folks that didn't have nobody. I helped younger folks. Our job as our generation is to take care of our younger folks and our elderly folks, and us behave the way we're supposed to.
Thank you. Closing.
You can have that, Troy.
I'm about to get shot. In closing, and we're putting the timer on this one, so when I walk up here, just figure out how to stop. Each of you gets 2 minutes to close and tell us why in the world we should support you as our candidates. Let's start down here with the corner.
Thank you.
When I get elected Sheriff January 1st, there's going to be families and members of folks sitting in this room that's going to have problems. They may be folks in this room that has problems that's supporting my opponent. My door's open. My door was open for 20 years. No questions asked. You might not get the answers you like. But I have an open door policy, as I had before. I'm the most qualified. I've ran businesses. I've ran the sheriff's department. I've wrote policies. I've read budgets. I've managed budgets. I'm the most qualified at the 2 candidates left, respectively to my opponent. And on November 6th, I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Mr. Cross.
Well, thank you for coming out. Now, before we close, there's 2 gentlemen in the back I respect very highly, and they put their lives on the line every day. I wish we'd give a round of applause for the 2 officers, Danny Ellis. These are some of the great officers at that department down there. As your next sheriff, officers like this is what I want in our department. These are very respectable, highly trained officers that treat people with compassion and respect, and I just can't wait to have them working under me as sheriff. But the main goal of the sheriff is to uphold the Constitution. And under that Constitution, like I've said many times, is your rights, and I will protect your rights, as far as I can. And uphold the law. And that's what a sheriff needs to do. Your sheriff is here to protect you. I've done it for 20 years. I protected everybody in this community for several years, and up at Lookout Mountain also. I know how to do the job. I've done it in that patrol car from day one, and here it is 20 years later. I know the ins and outs of the job, every aspect of it, except being sheriff. I haven't been sheriff yet. Like I say, there's a learning curve being sheriff. Everybody has to go through it this sheriff. But I know, I have the experience, I have the training, respectively, like Ms. Street said. I disagree with him. I believe I'm the most trained and qualified for the job. And I will surely ask each one of you for your vote on November the 6th. Thank you.
We're not going to get a hold of her.
You did a good job, though, trying.
Yeah, it worked out well. That's Bob.
All right, well, I look forward, if elected, to get down to Atlanta and present your views, your needs, and your desires to the legislature so that we can get things resolved. That's going to be the fun part. Dealing with people down there, dealing with you all, I enjoy that a great deal. The problem is going to be coming, or it will be the problem, is that we have one bucket of money. And this current year it's 18 billion, next year it's 19.3 billion, I think, that we're going to have to deal with. and have a budget that falls within that because of constitutional requirements to have a balanced budget. That's where the work is going to be made, and it's going to be difficult, hard, time-consuming, and evaluating a lot of different needs, whether there's so many special needs that we have. We have education, we have library, we have roads, we have health issues, we have the lack of jobs right now. All these things we have some input on, but it's going to be a lot of hard work and it's going to take a lot of time. I am basically retired almost, so I can spend more time down there, or the time necessary to accomplish these tasks. And I look forward to that opportunity, and I ask for your vote the first part of November, when everybody else wants it too. So, thank you very much. Tom.
Dade County has an opportunity we haven't had in a long time. John and I are both from Dade County. We haven't had a state representative from Dade County since Maddox Hale. That was in the mid-'60s, I believe. So it's been 40-something years since we've had somebody from this county. And we will have somebody from this county.
Good Democrat, right?
Yeah, a good Democrat, that's right. He's actually second in the House. So this is something new for us. And we were over in Walker County the other night. I think they're a little bit confused about what to do here. They've never had this situation happen before, or at least not in a long time. So we have an opportunity as a county to have someone down there for us. Of course, John or I, either one, will represent our district the best we can. I have grown up here. I've lived in both counties. I live in this county, drive through Walker County, and I work each and every day. I have deep roots in this community. If y'all have been around here long enough, you know Matt Mahan somewhere along another. And please don't hold some of my cousins against me if that's okay. But, we're good. I mean, we tend to be a very honest group of people, and that's me. I'm very honest. I'm very straightforward. You won't hear me pull any punches. You won't hear me or see me do this to the political win. I'll tell you exactly what I'm thinking and exactly why. I'm a very analytical person, and I'll use those abilities as well as my educational background to be a very good representative for the people here in Dade and Walker counties. And I appreciate your vote on November 6th, my birthday. It's my birthday, so remember that too. So when was that? November 6th.
November 6th.
November 6th.
And I appreciate you coming out tonight. Thank you. God bless you.
I'd like to thank all of you very much for coming to this wonderful little part of Dade County, the thriving metropolis of West Brow. We loved having you and appreciate